Hello everybody, Stephanie here again, and this time I'm back with yet another heart. I know, you're probably getting heartily sick of them right now. Heh, heartily. But this one doesn't have anything to do with the Firelight Forms mold. In fact, this one was sparked by an idea that Sarah had mentioned when she commented. She said she wished she had the mold I was using, and I was wondering after that, how could you do hearts on edge without a mold? I mean, obviously, you could probably trace the heart on your thin fire and do it that way. But I had another thought of using something as a mold to get the heart shape going. So I went on Amazon and I got myself a heart cookie cutter. This one is 3.25 inches. It's an Ann Clark cookie cutter. It was about $6. I know some of you are going to be looking at this and going, Steph, are you sure that's stainless steel? And you know what? I'm not. But I'm not going to put it in my kiln. I'm just going to use it as a guide to lay down a heart on edge, glue it together and let it dry overnight, and then full fuse it in my kiln. So to do this, if you want to do this thing, you will need yourself some sort of guide. Again, I'm using a cookie cutter off Amazon. You will need glue. I'm using glass tack gel because, again, I live near Bullseye. You could probably use hairspray, aloe vera, anything that will dry and hold up long enough to get it into the kiln and to let it hold while it heats will work. I know some people use PVA glue, some people use super glue. So whatever works for you. The tools you're going to need is obviously you're going to need to cut your glass into strips. I'm using red and orange because they're the two I had that were cut wide enough. I've cut them in approximately 1/4 inch strips. So you'll need to cut with that. You'll also need a set of tile nippers or something to cut your glass with. And probably, if you're clumsy like me, a set of tweezers. Again, these were an Amazon find. Beyond that, you should be good to go. Now, I'm going to start by taking my gel and putting some in the mold, but I'm not actually going to glue the mold down because I want to lift it up. So, I am just going to put a little bit in the bottom, well, a lot of it in the bottom, and yeah, I'll use these. Spread it out, not quite to the edge because I really don't want the cookie cutter stuck in the morning when I come back. I'm just going to let it dry overnight. It's about midnight here. And it'll be a couple of days till you all see this because I'm going to show an after once I fuse it. And hopefully through the magic of editing, it won't look so crap. So let's get this straight again. So I've put it down. And also to save some time, because I don't expect anybody really wants me to be sitting here for 20 minutes fiddling with glass, I have pre-cut and fit all my pieces. I mean, this is not cutting glass ASMR. So there's no need for you to sit and watch me swear at this stuff for 25 minutes. So here we go. As always, I like to start not at the top of the heart, but where the divot in the heart meets, because that gives me the last full piece I'm going to have. And that way I can, build it up going this way, and then lay in the fiddly pieces up top. Now, to be able to glue these together, I'm going to put a dollop of glass tack gel on the side right here and just kind of dip a bit of my glass in it and run my finger down, because I mean, it doesn't really matter how much you use, but the bottom layer will probably not be enough to get all these pieces to stick to each other. So I just stick it in and squeeze. And then my next piece and squeeze. There we go. And this is unfortunately going to be the tedious, less fun part, and I'm sorry for that, but I'll get through it as quickly as I can. I'm only using 2 colors here because I didn't feel like having to use the brain power to figure out a 3-color system in here. And I think y'all will get the point with 2 easily contrasting colors anyway. I mean, I'm sure you're already working out what colors you would use if you did this. And, by the way, if you do this, please share in the comments, especially if you've got a link somewhere, or I'm in the Fuse Glass Fanatics group, so you can also mention you're in there. And I will come look at your hearts because I'd love to see. I mean, this is hardly my idea. This is just one thing I thought of, but I mean, I'm sure somebody else came up with the idea way before me. I am not that interesting or that smart. I just love glass. But as you can see, the pieces are getting smaller. They're getting a little harder to fit. And also, if you notice that I'm working on a turntable, I have the one Glasshopper suggested. My advice to you is that if you're a patron of Glasshopper and you're thinking about getting a turntable, go to the 3 places on his website that he lists where you can get these from and source out which one is the cheapest with shipping. Because the cheapest table may not be the cheapest in the end. And that is how I got the best deal on mine. Mine's a 12-inch, which was a bit bigger than I probably needed. But at the time, I figured it was better to go big or go home. Now, this one needs cut down. I'm talking with tweezers in my mouth. That one needed cut down, and man, glass tack gel does not taste very good. Oh, I give up. We'll go for a smaller piece. There we go. Good enough. I keep forgetting some of these are for the pieces at the top, too, so... See, I didn't glue those down, so I'm going to need to get some gel and put it in. And I'm using tweezers at this point because my coordination is not that great, especially when I'm trying to look and dodge the camera as well as the get into this and not get my face and my blue hair in your way. So as you can see, I've gone all the way to the bottom. Now I'm going to come up here to the top and see what I can do. Now, see, I didn't cut this piece very perfectly. It's kind of got a wonky edge. So I'm going to put the wonky edge up. And I did not cut these precision just so. I mean, I figured that with this heart, there's going to be some pieces that are thicker and thinner and some pieces that are longer and shorter. And it's going to end up, not perfect. I'm okay with that. I am not somebody who strives for perfection in my art, just because I know that I will never get it. And I could just make myself really irritated all the time by trying to obtain perfection. Or I can accept that glass has a mind of its own. Goop. Accept that glass has a mind of its own and sometimes just let it do its thing. A long time ago, I used to joke I made happy accidents glass because I very much love Bob Ross. I remember watching him as a child. And a lot of my stuff ended up being happy accidents in the glass shop because I wasn't always sure what I would come out with. Like I said in my intro video, I did take classes from Aquila, but only a few, and I took one from Bullseye, and I've been on my own ever since. Alright, these are all too long, so again, we're going to snip them down. Don't eat the glass tack. It might be non-toxic, but it doesn't taste very good. And that, you can see gaps are pulling up where it's showing, but that looks like it will pretty much hold the entire heart. And it got twisted because I was working on it. You can see on this side that there's a lot more gaps than on this side, so what I will do is go in and adjust just a little. But the stuff's pretty firmly in there, so I'm not going to be doing much. Maybe this one down here. But that's what I have for this part. I'm going to let it sit in the cookie cutter overnight. And in the morning, I'm going to slip it onto a kiln shelf and fuse it in my smaller kiln and see what happens. I don't have a kiln shelf on here right now because, as you can see around the edge, there's crap all over my desk. I work in chaos. I thrive in chaos. And my desk is an absolute disaster. So putting a kiln shelf on the turntable, even though the kiln shelf's only 12 inches, just tends to make a big headache for me. So I will slide this one on. What I will probably do is come back in a few hours, slide off the cookie cutter, slide it up, make a second one just to see how 2 of them will turn out. I might choose different colors. I might use the rest of this red. Oh, you can't see it. The rest of the red and orange that I have, it's tangerine and standard red and bullseye. But until then, I will come back with a final product and you can see how it worked out. See you in the next day. Okay, it's a day later and I have to confess I cheated. After I turned off the camera, I pulled up the cookie cutter and ended up setting it down and making another heart. The good news was the glass jack held everything in place and nothing moved, so I was able to slide the thin fire onto a kiln shelf and take it to my kiln and dry it. I full fused them today and they're cold, and this is the result of the one you watched me make on camera. As you can see, it turned out pretty nice. I mean, there's a pretty good curve right here. And I think with a little more precision cutting, you could get a much nicer, neater looking heart. I mean, if you wanted to, you could probably take this to a grinder or a ring saw and clean it up. Or you could leave it with its slightly uneven nature. I mean, the other heart I did quickly, but as you can see, it turned out pretty well. It's got a pretty good curve right here. And both of them came to a point just fine. So I do think a cookie cutter is a viable option for you to make line edge or edge work hearts. I just think that you're going to have to accept you will get a little more variation in your hearts than, say, this one, because that's made in a mold. But if you do try them, please let me know, because I'd love to see anybody else's finished project. And if you have any tips or tricks for making this one easier, I am all ears. Thank you so much for watching, and y'all have a good day.